Oh, that's astonishing, isn't it? Well done, particularly those of you who don't know the geography of the school, for making it in here. Welcome to what I hope will be a really enjoyable day for you. I hope what you've chosen today turns out to be what you hoped it would be, and that you have a really great day. I think we've got a fantastic selection for you to go to during the day. But I want just to say, as well as the sessions you go to, one of the most important bits today is that we are together. And of course, I expect you're probably sitting with people you know, and probably gonna, it's nice to have a time with people you know, and that's great. Really urge you today to try to meet some people you don't know, right? We're a group of schools spread. Some of you may know people from other schools, but one of the most important parts of today is to give us all the opportunity to meet a few more people. As a trust, the whole idea is that we hopefully have an enjoyable day, but that through the different roles we have, we support each other better. In schools, people do all sorts of different roles. Some of you, not many of you in your school perhaps do your particular role. And the idea of being able to meet people who do something similar, but somewhere else, so you make more professional friends, is a really key part of what the Trust is about. So welcome to this session. I'm going to just do a few minutes introduction, and then I'm going to welcome Sufyan, who's our keynote speaker for today, which is why no doubt you chose this session. And I'll say a little bit more about him and how delighted we are that he's spending today with us and giving us a huge amount of his time. What I want to do is just a very few bits of brief introductions. And some of you, particularly those of you in primary schools, may have seen what I'm going to show you, but it bears seeing again. It's going to take me 4 minutes to show you. I'm just going to show you, this is when you think, does this work? All right, and I'm pressing my button thinking, is it going to work? I hope it is. I expect it is. I hope you've seen in the program, we've got these 3 themes. Whoops. That we're here to celebrate, here to be able to celebrate all that people do. It's been 2.5 years since we last had one of these events, and many of you may not have been to that last one. In that time, schools have done amazing work in all the usual kinds of ways they do amazing work, and of course through the pandemic. And we want to celebrate the fantastic work that people who work in schools do and have done for children, particularly over these last couple of years. We want to have new opportunities to collaborate, to be better than we can be on our own, to do yet better for children because we learn from each other. And that's what I hope you get from today's sessions. And we want to cultivate new relationships. We want to have relationships that really help us in moments when we could do with a bit of help, when we really could do with phoning a friend. And we want to be able to cultivate those kind of relationships. But if I go back to celebrate, I hope if you've had a chance, do come in. Space down the front. This is just the warm-up act, right? You're not missing anything by coming in this bit. Right, so come and have some seats here. Come on down. They're the expensive ones kept for you, okay? You may not have had a chance yet because the corridor is quite busy, but down this corridor, just down to the left, you'll see some fantastic work from the Secondary Arts Festival. And there's a big screen just before you get to the big main entrance down by the piano, where if you get a moment to see there, you'll see some video of some of the performances of children. What I'm going to show you is 4 minutes from the Primary Arts Festival that's been going on this week. So sit back and relax for 4 minutes. And we hope the sound works, and you'll see this.
You down. I wish that you could see beyond the fall. Switch your eyes towards the sparks that flicker in the dark. 'Cause there are sweethearts filled with love, 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 and I will hold your side, and I will hold you up. I wish that there was something I could say to help you see you'll be okay. I wish that I could turn you inside out, dust you down and brush the hurt away into the dirt. 'Cause there are sweethearts filled with love, 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 and I will hold you up. So keep your head high, and I'll be by your side, and I will hold you up. I want you to know that I love you so. I just want to say you'll be okay. I want you to know that I love you so. I just want to say you'll be okay. 'Cause there are sweethearts filled with love, 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 and I will hold you up. So keep your head high, and I'll be by your side, and I will hold you up. 'Cause there are sweethearts filled with love, 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 and I will hold you up. So keep your head high, and I'll be by your side, and I will hold you up. And our sweethearts filled with love to hold you up. And our sweethearts filled with love to hold you. And our sweethearts filled with love to hold you up.
So thank you very much indeed to all of you who've contributed either to the primary arts festival, and many of you might have seen some of your own work in that, and to all of the secondary arts festival too. The Trust is nearly 9 years old. Some of you will have been in your schools for longer than that, some of you much shorter than that. But today's about being together, about saying what is special about being in a group of schools that want to work together to help each of those schools be the most amazing they can. Some of you have been in the Trust for a long time. I'm going to show you just a couple of slides that just remind you of, in a sense, where it's come from and what it consists of. So many of you will know that it used to be called the Samuel Ward Trust, because Samuel Ward was the first school in the Trust, and then it became a multi-academy trust when Churchill School was opened in 2013. And then there were two schools, so that made it multi. And it became a multi-academy trust. And it's now, in September, will be 32 schools. And today, we welcome in particular colleagues from Breckland School in Brandon, who today have joined the trust. And we're delighted that you're here today with us on this day when we're all together. And in September, the opening of a brand new school in Bury St Edmunds on the Moreton Hall Estate, very close to Abbots Green Primary School, for children with social and emotional and mental health needs, very similar to Sir Bobby Robson School, which opened a couple of years ago. 14,000 children we between us serve and are here to do our very best for. Started, as you know, in Haverhill, where Samuel Ward and Churchill are based, and has then branched out in the various different directions across Suffolk and into East London, with two further schools planned to open, particularly in the Romford area around and near St Edwards. Some of you, though, don't do just that work in the schools. The vast majority of you work in the schools, in one of those schools, but we also have colleagues who work across a number of these other areas. Really exciting development to have 6 primary schools and secondary schools, 4 primary, 2 secondary schools, which now have specialist hubs for children who need something more specialist, but still within a mainstream school. As you know, we have a research school, and today it's going to be announced that the research school has had its life extended. At the moment, it's accredited till 2023, and later today, it's going to be announced it's going to be extended to 2026, which is great news for everyone who's been involved in the research school. Teaching school hubs, those are particularly for those of you who will be early career teachers, what we used to call newly qualified teachers, now early career teachers, next year for the first time, going on into a second year of really supporting teachers in those early stages of their career, and crucially doing national professional qualifications, which I hope many of you over your career will look at. And if you follow education news, you'll have seen that there's to be a new National Institute of Teaching, of which the Trust is to be one of the key partners in getting started. We've also had tutoring organisation. Many of you will have known the emphasis has been on tutoring in the last few years. Many of you are involved in initial teacher training. You have students in your classrooms, and we now have the Abbots Green base where students do some of their training. Ofsted comes along as an occupational hazard for us all. I want to say congratulations to all of those 10 schools. Not all of them have quite had their reports published, but all of them are smiling. All of them have done really well. It's a way of Ofsted, you either fear it or afterwards you're delighted because they've recognised the great work that your school is doing. I wanted to show you 2 slides to remind us about what Unity is about. The point of being in the Trust together is that by being in the Trust together, we can do even more than we can on our own in each individual school. And our aim is to make the remarkable happen, is to think big for children. We work with children, and some are relatively straightforward. They come to school, they learn, and they do well. They need your help, but they do great. There are others who come to school and you do your best, and it's harder work for them and for us. And we have to do a bit more. We have to find different ways of doing better by them. And then there's some bright idea nationally that we'll all do something else differently. And we all have to adapt, and we have to work out what that all is. And we need to help each other as we do that, to do those things really, really well. And so the point is, how do we make remarkable? How do we set our ambitions that we want our children to have the very best? We're back to the usual exam and testing season. Haven't had that for a couple of years. Too early to quite know what will have happened in our secondary schools. That's the sort of fun of August. But in our primary schools, we're just beginning to see the early sense of really, I think, some pretty impressive results. We know across the country that children are further behind than they ever normally are because of the pandemic. And the results aren't going to look pretty nationally. But we know that there are schools where over 90% of children are achieving expected standard in reading. More than 90% are achieving their phonics scores, where 70% of children are achieving 100% in their multiplication tables in year 4. There are teachers doing remarkable things. And by working together, we want to spread that remarkable practice so that we all have the opportunity to experience it. And we set ourselves these 6 values. Easy words to say, not always easy to do. Ethical leadership. We had a fantastic session a couple of years ago where all the school leaders talked about ethical leadership. Of course, everyone says they want to do ethical leadership. Not always easy to do with all the pressures there are. We want to absolutely be inclusive, both for all of us as employees, that we take care of each other, that we find the right places in our organization for everyone, those who find working life easy, those who have particular barriers in their working life. We want to be inclusive for children. We want to push the boat out further and be able to do better by the children who need more care and more attention. Communication. I've never worked anywhere where people say communication in our organization is rubbish. You never know what's going on, right? How do we try to do that better? How do we absolutely find ways to communicate really, really well? And we constantly need to push that. And we always welcome thoughts from you about how, as a trust, we do that better for you in your particular role. I'm going to come back to the last one. Strong relationships. part of today is to make those relationships stronger, and so that our work can be really effective. So it's not just, pretending to work together, but we make a real reality of collaboration. And the last two, belief in the success of all. We know some children do really well, but some it's much, much harder for. And for them, we need to have that endless ambition that we will find ways to support them achieve. Last bit from me, we want to recognize that everyone here, all of your colleagues, have done remarkable things. But I asked each school just to nominate someone, just to sort of particularly recognize what they had done. And I'm just going to flick up for you the names of people who the schools have just particularly recommended deserve even more a particular special mention. I'll just flick through the slides and hopefully you'll see your school as we do it. But there's a few I just want to mention, particularly as well as those I flick through on the slides as you read them through, because some of these people are actually in the room. I hope I got this right. This is where my list, you'll see whether it works or not. So we've got a few people who are here. So let me just tell you about some people. So I think these people are here. Lisa Mays from Abbots Green, you here? No. Jen from Clements, you here? Jen supports all of our families, children and staff in a selfless way. Our families have received support both through her time and application to funding to make life a little easier. Our children rely on her to be emotionally available at all times. Our staff speak to her about all their issues. She's a lovely person and a great asset to Clements Primary School. Isn't that amazing? Rebecca Byrne from Castlemaine, you here? Rebecca here? Kirsty from Churchill. Kirsty where? Kirsty. Our PE lead for her exceptional work, this is what Chris has said, in organising sporting experience for children at Churchill School. For example, girls' football festivals, bowling, water sports, sports day, and the Tottenham Hotspur, I'm a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, and the Tottenham Hotspur football match trip. Well done, Kirsty, absolutely terrific. Natasha and James from Wesley, you here? Natasha, she's head of French, joint head of Year 5. She teaches amazing lessons, embraces new ideas, inspires the children in her classes. She has led the way in subject leadership at Wesley. Congratulations, well done. Your head teachers should have some token to recognise your nomination, so congratulations to all of you. The main part of today's session, I'm delighted to welcome Sufyan Siddiq. Sufyan is the director of the Teaching School at Chiltern Learning Trust, an academy trust, oversees 2 teaching school hubs. You'll have read that Sufyan is a passionate activist within education around race, equity and inclusion. He's a fellow and board member of the Chartered College of Teaching. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Educational Assessors. He takes an active role in numerous charitable organisations as a trustee and in governance roles in education. The Chiltern Learning Trust, we're just beginning to get to know a little bit. It has features that we do about being an academy trust and teaching school hub. What marks it out, I think, is the quality of their work, but also, in particular, the generosity of spirit they have in sharing what they do. And Sufyan's going to talk to us today, and what we really want to be thinking about is, in particular, in terms of race equality, what it means to walk in the shoes of someone else. Sufyan, you're really welcome today. We're really delighted to have you. Let's welcome Sufyan.
Thank you. So for anyone who knows Rebecca and Lisa, if they're having coffee or playing archery outside, tell them it was a bit awkward when they were called up for the award. But well done, and thank you to everyone. I'm normally, I did say to the colleagues, I struggle to stand in one place. If anyone's watching the recording afterwards, they might not have any sound, and because I'm walking across, and that's me. If anyone is really, really sensitive, this is like your nut allergy equivalents of going into an intense talk. If anyone's really sensitive, if anyone's really, really politically correct, if anyone gets easily offended by a bit of flagrant language, you're definitely in the wrong place. Because that's the one thing I struggle with. I like to be myself, and it's an adult environment, and I will try and be who I am. And I always say the best thing about doing this is I don't really care if you don't like it, because it's a walk in my shoes. You're not going to live in my shoes. My shoes are my shoes. So there's not a huge issue about feedback that I'm too worried about. I also don't want anyone to feel, and the purpose of this is not, oh, look at me, poor Sufyan. One of the things that I struggle with particularly is I have a massive ego problem anyway. I normally walk in conferences like this, I'll see loads of teachers and I'd think, but I bet I'm still the best teacher in this room. So I'm definitely not, definitely don't need PE. I need people to try and humble me. That's my target for this year, is try and be a bit more humble. So I'll tell you a bit about race equity and a walk in my shoes. What does that mean? And today we look around. It's lovely to be here. It's fantastic coming in. I was saying to my colleague Leanne at the back, it felt like coming into like a festival. That kind of spirit. People, everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. The weather is nice for now. We don't know what it's like later on, but the spirit's really positive. But what we know is, actually looking around here, I'm very different in the way I look and the way a majority of you look. What we know is Britain's very diverse. Our young people will go in to an incredibly diverse country. If they're working out near Stansted, if they're working in London, it's very diverse. Perhaps some of the villages where we work, some of our schools don't have that level of representation or that diversity. What impact does that have on us preparing young people and minds for the future, for a more global Britain, a Britain that's outward facing? What does that mean? And I always think that the best way to look at it is for people to relate and see things from my lens. The beauty about seeing things from somebody's lens is your opinion counts for absolutely nothing, because it is just about my view and my lens. That's not to say I'm right. It's not to say that you can't have an opinion. It's not to say that you won't say, well, I absolutely disagree. And you can. And there's a place for it. My point is, it's just really important in life to understand what it's like to be someone different. What it's like when you walk into a room and you realize you are the one that's very different. And I start with a really powerful question. And I want everyone to really take a moment and think about it. The question that I start with is, are you, each one of you individually, are you a racist? It's a powerful question. It's a question that gets under your skin. It will make people uncomfortable just thinking about that for a minute. But again, I pose it to you. You ask yourself that. Are you a racist? It's pretty difficult, that question. What I can tell you is I've delivered this to thousands of people. No one ever puts their hand up saying, oh shit, I'm signed up to the British National Party. You've got me. I'm thinking about cancelling it. I left EDL behind me. That doesn't happen. No one's ever really said, oh, you got me. Yeah, I am. It's me in the back row. Yep. So I get it. But then I ask you the next question. The statistical possibility and probability of us being in large spaces, large crowds like this, and people not having racist views is very unlikely. We all have views. So I turn it around and I say, right, actually, there's no point saying, are you a racist? Or me saying you're a racist and you say, no, I'm not a racist because I speak to the guy at the local Indian, Tariq. I know him. He's a great guy. And that doesn't make me racist because I have an Indian on a Friday. Yeah. Right. And that's not really the purpose of it. It's not about putting you in a corner and saying, are you a racist? It's about perhaps looking at the fact that I believe if we all ask each other and ourselves the deep and meaningful question, do I have a problem with people when they are different? And every one of us, we're all little do-gooders as teachers. We all think, right, we work in education. No, not me. I'm not like that. But if you dig down deep, our human nature is we struggle with difference. We struggle when something doesn't conform to what we consider the norm. And we are defined by our norms based on the society we're in, based on the people we're around. Your norms change with circles that you're with. I come from a family, I'm very, very poor in our background. We were migrants, we were homeless. Our norms in the people we mixed with then were very different to the norms now, with the people I mix with now. Norms aren't static, they don't stay, they move. We move with times. Your norms and your behaviors change based on the pub you drink at and the attitudes they have there. The people in the clique you're with in the staff room, it changes based on the people that we're around. So I then pose the challenge to you is that I think every one of us is a little racist. A little bit of racism exists in all of us. And if each one of us challenges that little feeling that we have where we don't like the difference that we see, we're going to delve in deeper in trying to make a more equal society, a more equitable society. Because if every one of us says, I'm not the problem is somebody else, then no child in the UK should experience bias. Then we say in an equal society, we wouldn't have 0.2% of teachers that from black backgrounds make up head teachers. 0.2% in a very equal society. I have a daughter, she's 5 years old, and you'll see her in a few slides. But I always say to her, she says a comment to me, she said, and I'm very pragmatic, I'm very real, I'm a realist. And she said, my teacher said that I can be an astronaut. You can't be an astronaut, Hajar. You couldn't even be a head teacher 20 meters up the corridor. I don't know why they're sending you to the moon. They would do well to send you to the head teacher's office and say, you can be a head teacher one day, Hajar. Because the reality is my daughter's probability of being a head teacher at this moment in time are virtually impossible. Her chances of getting to the moon are just astronomically non-existent. Genuinely think about that as a statement. She can't see herself in the head teacher's room as being that person. Can we really sell everyone the dream that they can be anything and everything if we know that society has those biases? How do the biases exist? So when you look at me, it doesn't matter. And this is where I'm going to move away from it. So please tell me if you can't hear. If you're looking at me here in this room right now, and if you're being very, very honest with me, somewhere subconsciously in your mind, there was something that started to connect the dots. Not consciously. I'm not saying somebody said, right, consciously, I've got a problem with Sufyan. Subconsciously, 98% of the time, a man that's a Pakistani Asian man that looks like me, when represented in the media, is negative. 98% of the time. When you add on the fact that he's a man that's very openly Muslim, so you can tell by my beard that I'm a Muslim, I'm a practicing Muslim. 99.9% of representation of men that look like me come with the word terrorist, extremist, fundamentalist, radical, barbaric, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. That, over a period of time, has an impact on all of our minds. We are all products of media. Why is it that some of us will go and we want the milk in Marks and Spencer's? And less milk. It's the same damn cow that leaves it to Aldi. But it's not Aldi, it's less milk. Because the programming, that marketing, and we're programmed by that. I have a thing, and I always give that. I'm a business teacher, and I always say, look, for years, I always said to my mom, I only eat Quaker Oats. I don't care what happens. Don't buy anything else. And I remember walking in once, and if you know the Quaker Oats box, it's got that hole inside. Walking in once into my house, and I saw my mom in the kitchen, and she's pouring into the Quaker's box. And I said, what are you doing? She said, putting your oats in. I said, that's like Aldi's own brand. I eat Quakers. She hasn't been eating it for the last 7 years. We're programmed. We're programmed as humans. I was attached to something said to me, the marketing, the messages that programmed me and made me believe that it's Quaker Oats that give me that real hunger and desire to kick on in the day. And we are all like that. If you see me represented in a certain way, somewhere subconsciously in your mind, that has an impact. It has an impact when I travel. When I'm on the aeroplane and I'm the guy next to you and I'm looking for jelly beans in my bag, you're shitting yourself. I might be looking for jelly beans, but the programming in your head is telling you there may not be jelly beans in that bag. There may be something else. So what is happening in our brain? Why is it that your heart rate was going slightly higher? But you're still that little do-gooder teacher, that really nice person. I'm really woke. I'm vegan. Whatever you are. I'm going to do well by the planet. You're still that nice person, but you've been programmed. Something inside you was telling you, oh God, I really hope that something nice that comes out that bag. I don't need to stand in the underground. I get a seat all the time, and I'm not pregnant or disabled. Yeah? I'm not elderly, but not many people want to sit close to me for a number of years. Now, why is that? People have an issue. I have got to be conscious when I travel to them. I've got to be conscious that I don't have a backpack. Now, I've got to be conscious. I have a bag, and I make sure my bag is very slimline. I make sure that people can feel and see that there's nothing on me. I've got to be conscious. I go to a holiday. When you book a holiday, I've got to book a holiday always with a view. So we've booked a holiday to Turkey, or we've booked a holiday to America, wherever we book, I've always got to say to my wife, you and the kids are going to have to go, and I'll meet you at the hotel. I always know there's no point planning for me to join the transport. I will get stopped at the airport. Not on a bag search. I'll get stopped to be detained, to be interviewed for a number of hours. I know if I go to America, it will be 10, 12 hours before they release me. I know that's my life. Now, a lot of that comes about the programming. This one's really interesting. Why is it interesting? Because what you see there is 10 men. That was a paedophile ring, grooming ring of 26 men. The 16 were white. What made the media with these? Careful selection? We know when you look at our thing, our migrants, and again, I'm absolutely committed. I'm absolutely committed to supporting what's happening in Ukraine. Because for me, war is war. Killing is killing. Wrong is wrong. What's programmed us in a way where in the first couple of weeks, every media agency was slipping on the words. This isn't like they're other people, they're just like us. They look like us. What do you mean? So the kid dying off the coast of Calais, that was a slightly darker shade, not like us. We care slightly less for the kids. I want to give my home to the Syrian kid. I want to give my home. Would I be allowed to do a collection? There's collections happen in Luton for Ukraine. Great collection happened for Ukraine. And the collection said any military non-weaponry thing, so if you've got stab-proof vests, helmets, camouflage stuff, you can donate that for this cargo going out. If I put out a little banner out there, if someone did that today, it'll be fine. If I stood behind that store and said, I'm collecting helmets, stab-proof vests, any military apparatus, then that subconscious little thing in your head will be like, yeah, and all of you in your prevent training, you'll be like, right, we need to run to the station and I'm spotting something, I'm going to record that. But the impact of media is not a modern phenomenon. In this room, I'm the closest looking thing to Jesus there is. Jesus did not look like any of you. How this guy from Denmark all the way to freaking Bethlehem in a row, I don't know. But that dude wasn't hanging around in Bethlehem because they would have known you're from here, pal. Yeah, miracle birth or not, you're in the wrong place. Not the right place. But we made Jesus white very quickly. And we made black as evil very quickly. Very quickly. Early paintings, early depictions of art started to depict beasts and whatever it is, dark colors. If you get a chance, and it's a powerful thing, a lot of schools within the Unity Trust, I know there's a lot of primary schools, I always say this, the dog test in YouTube, I didn't put it on because it actually really gets to me. 3-year-old black children in America, 4-year-old black children, 3-year-old and 4-year-old white children in America. You get a black dog, you get a white dog. And you say, which dog is ugly? They'll press the black, they'll say black dog. Which one's horrible? Black dog. Which one's nasty? Black dog. Which one don't you want to be a friend with? Black dog. Which one's disgusting? Black dog. Which one's beautiful? White dog. Which one's lovely? White dog. Which one's nice? White dog. Who do you want to be friends with? White dog. Scary part, even the black children are saying they don't like the black dog. The power and impact of media. We all are susceptible to it. Every one of us is a product of it. And I always say, what about me? Do I feel, people always say, as a leader in education, do you feel like you're an imposter? I don't feel like an imposter. Imposter is different. I feel like I'm a trespasser. I always go in conferences knowing there's 87 teaching school hubs. Guess what? I'm going to be the only ethnic minority in the teaching school hub directors meeting. There's over 700 teaching school alliances. I was probably one of the very few that was from an ethnic minority background. I go in, I've been in locality, I've been into heads conferences, heads meetings, where people have asked me about, right, can you help us set up the IT? Now, I thought that's because I look young and hip, but they thought I looked like the Indian IT instead of me being there as a leader. Because people profile, that's what we do. We profile people. We put people in boxes. Now, that's not saying you consciously stand there and say, right, I'm going to tuck my swastika away and I'm going to be really horrible and I'm disgraceful. It's that subconscious thing about the impact of media, the impact of our social circles around us, around how we view and treat people. I normally put this slide up. I told you I have an ego problem, so I'm not denying that now. But I always say, if I applied to your schools, if I applied for a headship in your schools, now get it right. I walk into your school, your members of staff, and they say it's a headship interview, and we all know it, we're all looking at who's the candidate, who is it that's coming in? Sufyan arrives. And you're like, what's the name there? Sufyan. Sufyan comes in, and I'm on the walk around. Ask yourself the question and be true to yourself. I'm doing the walk around your school. And I'm there to do it. We're having lunch together. Part of the day is that I will have lunch with staff. How are you feeling about lunch with me? What were your subconscious thinking before that lunch with me? Interview process is a flawed process in my opinion. Because interviews really disadvantage introverts, deep thinkers, people that actually are really great. Interviews are a PE teacher's dream. Yeah. But so many of them are bloody in positions of responsibility. Sorry, PE guys. That wipes out the whole of leadership for all our schools. So, why? Because actually needs to be the full process. But I am, if I was going to put myself in a box, I'm more a PE teacher than a history teacher. I am suited to presenting, doing the assembly, doing an interview. So actually, the process isn't one I'm scared of. And I always say, before you see me, what are the chances that actually, if I apply to schools, whether it's your schools, other schools, this isn't about unity, this is about me talking to any school in general. The chances of me getting through the first stage are virtually impossible with my name. Because the moment you see my name, the first filtering process happens, that there's a high possibility, proven, that I will be shifted aside. Because my name isn't shifted a bit. When I arrive, I will still find it hard because elements of difference, despite my answers, despite my ability, elements of difference will make staff uncomfortable. Staff will say, he's nice, but I'm not sure he's right for our school. Stop there, unpack that. He's not right for your school. Why? It'd be really good. So you have to see how it'd be really inspiring with places like Luton, Bradford, and so on. So white people are inspiring to everyone. I didn't get that right. I'm only inspiring to agencies. I can only inspire agencies because that exclusive right isn't there for me. I'm asking the question. I'm a trustee for a uniform charity. We provide free uniforms. One of the founding members of that is called Level Trust. I'm a board member, trustee, and fellow for Child College, fellow of the Child Institute of Educational Assessors, trustee for a national charity that provides 16 to 19-year-olds working options and what they can do next. Raise Up is a Luton foundation that I'm an advisor for, chair of governors in a special school called Windmill. MK College, I'm a governor at MK College. Luton Town Football Club, that's us. I'm a board member at Luton Town Football Club. Children Learning Trust, Children Teaching School Hub, that's us. Best Practice, I'm an advisor and board member there. Challenge Partners, board member advisor. Founder in Discover Islam, a charity that's set up to actually deal with far-right extremism. Believe it or not, Tommy and me went to school at the same time. He's a Luton boy, I'm a Luton boy. We're both 37 years old. So a lot of work around community tension, easing that done through there. Luton Food Bank, founder and trustee at Luton Food Bank. Cultural Trust, all of our museum, art galleries, and a trustee there. FACES is Face Against Child Sexual Exploitation, dealing with grooming nationally. We're doing work around that, training and development. What's the point of telling you that? I'm British values as much as it gets. I give back to Britain as much as I can. I won't get shortlisted because my skills and abilities in a lot of places are irrelevant. My effort, my knowledge, my disciplinary knowledge, my outcomes, all of them can be stacked aside because if I go in and even if I get through your governance, and they're not yours, when I say yours, please don't walk away saying, oh, no, my governance is really nice. Okay. Governance. By and large, we've got a massive issue around headship. 0.2% of heads are black. Guess what? The governance is even more stark than that. And that will be that moment in government where they say, nice guy, he's a nice guy, but I don't think he'll fit into our community. I don't think he's the right fit for our schools. Well, I fit everything else. I've got the competence, I've got the ability. Why don't I fit? I always think this moment, I love the England football team. I don't like the cricket team. I support Pakistan. I'll tell you that. I can't explain it. I love the football team, yeah, and then there's cricket team. But I love them so much, I even dress like Gareth Southgate. And when the games were on, when he brought these boys on, I said no. I was shouting and said no. And my wife was like, why? Because I said, one of them misses, it's over. I was a sixth form teacher for 14 years. He would have barely left sixth form. He could have been one of the kids I taught. If I thought to myself, what do I want? I'm incredibly competitive. I'm not joking. This weekend, me and my kids, they're 5 and 6, we're practicing the sack race and spoon taking school. I don't want, it's wrong. I've been told off by my kids' school. I tell my daughter, second place is first loser. And don't bring a participation medal home. I'm sorry, there's no primary teacher there. And I've been pulled up quite a few times and told off quite a few times. Because she said, second place is first loser. Yeah. And they called me in and said, she said that, and I asked a question. I said, oh, that's so cool. I said, was she second place? No, she won. But if I could ever dream of my kids being anything, I want them to be the best at their discipline. 0.1%. That's the world football category he's in. One of the most absolute elite representation of output performance in his own discipline. I want my kids to be good people, to be able to help millions during the toughest time while people were having cheese and wine parties. There are millions of kids because of this boy. I'd be so proud of Mark Rashford with my son. 28,000 people went onto Twitter and social media to call them monkeys and all sorts of disgusting words after that game. You fancy being a black boy in Britain. Fancy being a boy. Why? You can be brilliant, and when you're brilliant, people treat you fairly. No, they don't. Because you can be the greatest boy in the country. You can be an amazing boy, and you're still treated like shit. That's tough. That's the role model they have to live with. Imagine being his mom. Imagine that. Imagine being so proud and you're so heartbroken, and on that day, you look at social media and they're degrading him to an animal, and they're calling him names because he's black. It happens. I played cricket for a long time, and I always look back and say one thing. When Harvey Weinstein thing happened around Me Too campaign, I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I always said it, and I was very negative. I said, but they knew what they were doing. And I thought back when this thing happened in cricket, I thought back to the fact I played cricket with men that there were 10 men. I played in Bedfordshire. Alistair Cooks from Bedfordshire. I played against him. I'm not going to say what happened, but I was there. I was there. Monty Palliser lives on the same road. We were there. I played at a really good level. I went out everywhere. And these white men picked me up, paid my subs for years because I was a poor kid. Traveled all around the country, took me everywhere because they were good people. But locker room banter, they would call me the curry muncher, they'd call me the little fatty, they'd call me stuff. And they said to me, are you okay with it? You don't mind, do you? I said, I don't mind. Because I was a kid living my dream. I wanted to just play cricket. I didn't mind. I finished with this. That's my daughter. And it was only a year ago, and I always say this, that it's the hardest thing I've ever dealt with. I was a poor kid. We moved out of the block. We've done well, me and my wife. And we wanted to give the best possible chance to our thing. So yes, we're on the edge of Luton. We're right, the schools are all village schools. She goes to a village school. Me and my wife had the debate. My wife wanted to send her there. I said, no, Asma should never fit in. She's not one of them. She said, no, I want her to go. We worked hard. I want her to have that small school, that amazing feeling. She went there. Second year in that school now. After her first few months, she said to me, can I ask a question? Do you want to be the best daddy in the world? You know the problem. I'm obsessed with being the best. I'm like, right, but yeah. I thought I already am, but I'm willing to see you. She said, I need you to do something. Can you take me out? And we went in the car, and she said, if you could quickly take me somewhere, change this. I said, change what? She goes, I don't like it. And she said, it's ugly. And she said, I want yellow here, and I want to change this color. And if you can change my color for me, and make it more like gold, and Roxy in my class, then I'm going to be happy, and I'll always think the best dad. And I said, Audrey, but I'm this color. And she said, and I said, am I ugly? She said, yes. that hit me hard. Because I fancy myself. but it was, I don't want to be this. She's 6 years old. I say to you, if there's a message I take away, and I ask you to take away today, is one thing. Being different is pretty hard. She's been with me when I've been spat at. She's been with me when we've gone on holiday in Cornwall, and within the space of an hour, we've been told effing packies. And that's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to think the dad is amazing, and then you have people chuck litter at their dad. And people call you an effing packy, and then it's pretty hard to explain to a kid when they say, now what's a packy? Yeah, it's a really hard thing. It's pretty hard choosing where to go to know that, well, I don't want them to see that. I don't want them to see their mom get abused and the dad get abused. But that's the life they have to live. And that's a pretty difficult life. All of us will have the odd child in our classes, no matter how much it is, that feels different. And I leave you with the question is that walking their shoes. It's understanding what it's like to be different. Racism isn't about a political debate. It's about the fact that I walk and I will go through, I run every day and I still get people pulling the car window down, spitting and swearing and shouting at me. And I've done nothing to them. But when they do it in front of my kids, it pretty much hurts. And if you're a kid, you don't want the dad that gets spat at. You don't want to be the color that gets spat at. You just want to fit in with everyone else. being different is really difficult, ladies and gentlemen. And my own thing is, all of us can try and do something to address our biases within us. We all have them. I have them. I have a bias towards white people. Whenever I think of white people, I think that they all go home and eat smiley faces and beans for dinner and nothing. That's my bias. Yeah, so when white people are talking about food, I'm thinking, you can't take you seriously. With respect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will say one thing. We never charge. I never charge for any work that we do around equality and diversity. It's always free because it means something to us. We don't charge for petrol, but had I freaking known it's 2,500, we would have charged. We don't, but I ask for one thing. Being an ally as a white person talking about attending this and saying something, whether it's on Twitter. On Twitter, it won't surprise you, my tag is called @unleashing_me. Yes, I unleash myself on people. So @unleashing_me, Chiltern LP Learning Trust, Children Teaching Schoolhouse. All I say is the advocacy of one white person going on and saying, I found the racial equity session powerful. Yes. People think, well, I ought to challenge my own biases because the allies are speaking up. I can speak as much as I want, but when you speak, when it's powerful. If you thought this session was shit, keep it to yourself. Thank you very much.
Well, what an amazing start. Sufyan, it was a fantastic session. You can tell from people's reactions. And we're really grateful. And I think you've certainly challenged us. And I hope we all do, even though it's the first session by the end of the day, I hope we take up Sufyan's challenge to go onto his Twitter handle. I have two last jobs to do. One is at the very end of the day, if any of you are not rushing, we could do with a few people just helping tidying up. So if anyone's not rushing, just do stay on at the Lightwell end. And secondly, getting out is going to take us a few moments, but we're going to go out that way, please. And then if you just then go round to your next session. If people over here want to go off fairly quickly, then we'll go to the next session. Thank you very much.